Welcome to Jawing About the Gmen. I am Joe Aguirre. He is Sean Scanlon. And look, as expected, the New York Giants, things did not go well. Let's put it to you like that against the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants were pretty much dominated in that game. And yet, Sean, somehow they hung in the game. The score was 18-12. And, if the Giants could have gotten anything together, they could have crawled back into this game. That despite the fact Danny Dimes, 22 out of 32, just 132 yards through an interception, no touchdowns again. Here's the problem, Sean, and I'm sure you'll agree. Jones was pressured on 15 of 34 dropbacks. It makes things extremely difficult for, let's be honest, he's not the best quarterback in football. I don't think anybody thinks that, but I'd like to remind people, Sean, that when you're talking about the greatest Giants quarterbacks of all time, it's a short list. Phil Simms is probably on it. Eli Manning is on it. And if you want to go a couple deeper, you're talking like Frank Gifford and Y.A. Tittle. The Giants are not known for having great quarterbacks. This isn't Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers. You sprinkle in a Don Majkowski, and that's your quarterbacks for the last 45 years. The Giants don't have that. Daniel Jones, and we've talked about this, Sean, is right for this team, for this offense. But when he's pressured on half of his dropbacks, when the offensive line is as porous as it's been, this is what you're going to get. I mean, the Giants clearly can't compete with the upper echelon of the NFL, at least as of right now, yeah?
Absolutely. We're just not at that level where we're contending for championships right now. We saw it in week one, and we saw it last Thursday that these defensive lines and defensive fronts that we're facing, we're just not built to, compete against them. Our offensive line is just in disarray right now, especially with having Andrew Thomas out, another starter, and Ben Bredesen doesn't make it any better. So we're just not built to protect those elite fronts that, truly are top 3, top 5 fronts in the league. And we've seen that so far first couple of weeks. So obviously it's easy to, look at it and, kind of overreact because we're not going to be seeing these fronts all season. We'll play some good defenses, no doubt. But these are really elite type level fronts that are going to get after the quarterback. And that's why Daniel Jones has struggled so far, except for, that second half against Arizona pretty much. So if we can't get this protection together, it will probably be a long season, but we also aren't going to be facing this sort of competition. So I do have some high hopes that, Evan Neal will start to get it together. Hopefully that interior O-line will gel a little bit. We'll be getting Andrew Thomas back at some point. So it's definitely tough to watch right now. And if they do continue to play like this, then definitely not a lot of high hopes, but I do have some hopes that they can get some continuity, start to gel together, and then hopefully from there, after this rough stretch through the first 6 weeks, we can start to get it together and hopefully, win some ball games and try and compete for a wild card.
I had suggested last week when we did the preview for this game that the Giants should load up on Darren Waller. I said maybe 10, 12 targets. He got 7, made 3 catches for just 20 yards because the 49ers were thinking what I was thinking. With no Saquon, they weren't going to let Darren Waller beat them. And as you look at the Giants' numbers, Paris Campbell had 6 catches for 24 yards. So nobody else stepped up. Matt Breida led the rushing attack, 4 carries for 17 yards. The Giants as a team ran 11 times for 29 yards, 2.6 a carry. That's terrible. And for the Giants, you need to be able to establish some sort of run, and they haven't been able to do that. Again, as you mentioned, look, the Cowboys and the 49ers are the class of the NFC, and probably more so the 49ers. Obviously, the Cowboys had their issues last week with a very tough Arizona team, an Arizona team that beat up on the Giants in the first half of their game. Now, the Giants, of course, got it together in the second half, and it's funny in that game. That game was so interesting, Sean, in that in the second half, when Daniel Jones had time and he was being protected, and the Cardinals were in his zone, picked them apart, and obviously led that team back to win a football game. So again, we know this guy's got the skill set when he's not running for his life, not having Saquon and obviously Thomas are huge. I mean, those are probably the two best offensive players on the New York Giants. And so, yeah.
Two best players overall, probably.
Listen, here's the thing, right? I've been laughing because I've been watching a lot this week with Justin Wilson and with Justin Fields. And in the case of Justin Wilson, he's a piece of garbage. It's got nothing to do with the coaching or the poor selection as high as they drafted him, or the fact that they went out and got Aaron Rodgers and didn't have a contingency plan. You look at I think this Giants team is what it is. I think until they can, I don't even know, Sean. I guess, getting Saquon back is going to be huge here. I mean, he really is. He's a difference maker, and when he's not there, it's problematic. And they had high hopes. They're going to rush him back, but he's a fast healer. It looks like he's going to miss this game here coming up with the Seattle Seahawks as well. Thomas still in doubt. He did practice today. Saquon practiced, but it doesn't look like either one of them is going to get into the game. So that's concerning. But I think if the Giants could straighten out this offensive line, and I think they could do that against. Look, I think the other thing, Sean, is you could figure out how good the other team's defenses are when they're playing the Giants. If you want to know how good your defense is, you should be able to gauge it in a game against the New York Giants.
Yeah, it's definitely a good litmus test going against this line because if you have a good day or if you have a good defense, then most likely you're going to have success and get after the quarterback. But the Seahawks haven't been great, especially against the pass, so that gives me some signs of hope. And on the touching on Saquon, I wouldn't want to rush him back if he's not ready yet for Monday, because we've seen him have these high ankle injuries before in the past. In 2019 and in 2021, he missed 3 games and 4 games. So when he came back, though, it was kind of a slow start to get him back to that form that he's at. So if he's not ready, I don't think there's any reason why we should rush him back 15 days after the injury that happened, because he's such a huge part of this offense. Obviously, it would be nice to have him out there, but if he's not ready to contribute to this offense, I don't see a reason why, especially against the Seahawks defense, like I said, that isn't, elite. Still have a bunch of good playmakers and, Hodgins, Slayton, Waller. We just have to, have protection up front, give them time to get them the ball. We can have some running plays with Daniel Jones as well. That works. So I don't see why we should rush Saquon back. I would kind of, be more hesitant to rush him back, because I just don't think it's worth taking that risk, especially going, later down the season. Say he gets re-injured again, that kind of just breaks up, your whole hopes for, postseason play. So I'd like to play that safe and hopefully just go out and have a good passing performance against the Seahawks, because I think that will be huge if we want to go win that game Monday night. And it's a must win at this point, because, you start off 1-2, offense hasn't looked great. Defense hasn't looked good really at all either. Poor tackling, no pass rush, 2 rookie cornerbacks, which, they played well so far, but you can't really rely on that all season, especially with no pass rush. So this is a must win, because then you have Miami, who looks like maybe the best offense of all time. And Buffalo, who after that, rough week 1 has come out and beat the crap out of the next 2 teams that they played. So they're back to being Buffalo. So this is a must win at home Monday night, big opportunity in prime time. If you don't win this season can really go off the rails. So it's really important that this offense, starts to get it going.
Obviously, Geno Smith is the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, and he's played well. He's played well in the last 2 years, and I forget which Giants group that I'm in. Arguably one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. They suggested this is a revenge game because Geno, of course, replaced Eli Manning in the starting lineup, and I don't think Geno asked for that. I don't think Geno was expecting that. I think we were all shocked that it was Geno and not Davis Webb that got the start that week. I don't think the Giants have any ill will towards Geno Smith, and the fact that he's gone on to do good things. And I thought, like, that is the possibly the stupidest thing I've ever heard. A revenge game. He didn't do anything. Somebody was going to start in Eli's place. It happened to be Geno. What? Like what? Even people even talking about?
Yeah,
This fan base is questionable at best.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the fans just like to make connections when you're playing a team, going against a former player who used to play for the Giants. Yeah, I don't really see that. It was Ben McAdoo's decision, which is still a stupid decision. Eli, should have had some respect from this organization where he got to, keep that streak going as long as he wanted to. Because we weren't playing for anything at that point. Geno Smith wasn't going to be our starter, going into the next year. If you want to see Davis Webb, maybe to see if you have a young quarterback, but yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. If anything, I think it's pretty much just from the fans who, I mean, obviously loved Eli that they want to see, Geno Smith probably do poorly, but he's been really good. So,
by the way, my understanding of this situation is that they basically told Eli something to the effect of he would either start the first half or the second half and somebody else, and he said no. So he very well could have kept that streak intact, and he didn't want to do it that way. Right? So to suggest that there's any animosity or that any of this falls on Geno Smith is, I mean, it's a stretch. It really is a stretch. And let me say this, because I've seen a lot of this on social media in the last few days, and we're going to talk about Daniel Jones and some things that the 49ers said about him. And I know a lot of fans still aren't sold on Daniel Jones. And to those folks, I say this. If you're not a fan of Daniel Jones, you're not a Giants fan. Plain and simple. It's your starting quarterback. You might not like him. You might not think he's great. Maybe you don't think he's even good. That's your starting quarterback. If you're not on board with this guy, you're not rooting for this guy, who, by the way, leaves everything out on the field. I mean, he is a competitor like nobody else in this league, man. This guy, a lot of the times, is basically tasked with carrying a lousy team on his back. And it doesn't look good because the team sucks. That's the real problem here, is that this team has so many holes, and it's like you want to blame it on Daniel Jones. Anybody who's watching this team that knows anything about football, it's obvious this guy is not the problem.
Yeah, and casuals who don't actually watch the Giants games will tell you different. They'll look at Daniel Jones' numbers and say, "Hey, he doesn't throw any touchdowns. He throws for 150 yards a game." But if you actually watch this team, you understand that it's not just this year. I mean, Daniel Jones has been dealing with this his whole career with the Giants, and he's never had a legit number one receiver to throw to. He's always had a poor O-line, and he's been put in bad situations. Had some, terrible play callers, under the Judge era when Pat Shurmur was still here too. So it's never been an ideal situation around for Daniel Jones. And we saw last year when you put some structure around him, an O-line that wasn't great last year, but held up better than they have this year. Daniel Jones can go out and win you ball games. And that's what he did last year. Finished a bunch of games in the fourth quarter, leading them to comeback wins. Finally brought them to a playoff game, won a playoff game on the road against a 13-win team. Say what you want about the Vikings last year. Daniel Jones still stepped in and did that, and one of the best, performances of his career. So, yeah, if you're a Giants fan that hates on Daniel Jones, I mean, just you have to understand that he hasn't been put in the best situations, and that's why I root for Daniel Jones, because you said it, he's a competitor. That Giants-Cowboys game week 1, A lot of people were asking and probably wondering why he wasn't coming out. I think it's because Daniel Jones, wanted to at least get some production on the board. And he just has so much pride in his game and pride in being the New York Giants starting quarterback, especially after getting that big payday in the offseason. He wants to go out and, show some production for these fans. So he's a fighter. He's a competitor. He's not going to give up. And that's what I love about Daniel Jones. I think he'll be fine the rest of the year. I think this offense will start to get it clicking. It's tough when you have, like I said, 2 of your first 3 games are against elite defenses. It's tough, especially with what you have around you. So I think he's going to get it to the click. And I think he's going to shut up a lot of, Giants fans and fans across the NFL that, probably aren't even watching the Giants games. They just like to, make fun of Daniel Jones because it's easy to do. But he's going to show up. And I think that he'll give us a chance to compete for a wild card spot eventually down the line this season.
So the San Francisco 49ers, who I think have their own issues, again, barely kept the Giants in the game into the fourth quarter, struggled the week before with the Rams. I don't know that they're really in a place that they should be talking, but they had some things to say. And Daniel Jones addressed that earlier today.
Did you see the things that the 49ers said after the game the other day? You basically questioned how much money you made.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I think I'm focused on what we're doing here with these guys, and trying to get back on track.
You're a guy who never would ever say anything, I don't think, negative about an opponent. Does it bother you that it comes from the other side? You didn't do anything provoking, is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, that's they won. They got good players on defense, and they won. So, we're focused on us, focused on what we're doing here.
How much do you view that? That's not the first time another player has done that. You don't see that necessarily. Baker Mayfield way back when. Why do you think that has been the case with you?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Thanks,
How much do you think that's something that just, when you sign a big contract that sort of comes with it, that people are always looking at, the contract and the money you make?
Yeah, I guess some people are like that, where they feel the need to do that. That's fine. That's part of it.
Daniel. That's it. Thanks.
Again, look, this guy's getting paid $40 million because that's what goddamn starting quarterbacks get in the NFL. You pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, Sean. I mean, by the time everyone gets their money, Herbert and Burrow and everybody else that's going to get paid, he's going to end up being in the middle of the pack, which is where most people put him, and that's where his salary will be. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but that's what starting quarterbacks get in the NFL.
Yeah, he's already close to the middle of the pack, which is honestly, if you assess him, even for Giants fans or NFL fans, I think that most people would put him in the middle of the pack. He's not an elite quarterback, but by no means is he a bad quarterback in this league. So I think he's fairly paid. People like just to look at the number because, especially with the numbers jumping so high in the, past couple of years, they're not used to seeing a $40 million quarterback, who hasn't had a ton of success yet in the league. So, yeah, people like to just look at that and point it out. But and I saw ESPN had a bunch of segments after the game Thursday where, do the Giants regret, paying Daniel Jones $40 million? It's 3 games into the season. You have to give – and the life of the contract is 4 years. They just like to overreact to everything. So you have to let the contract play out, at least let this season play out before you can really, jump into that. But I think it's unfair to Daniel Jones, and you see it in that video. Daniel Jones is just all class. He's always been that way. I think he kind of got that from Eli as well. But, he's not going to put any teams down. He's just going to come in, do his job, not say a lot, put his head down and roar. So that's what I love about Daniel Jones. And I think that he's going to, end up playing better in the season. Like I said before, I think that eventually at some point we'll be in that wild card contention where, people will start to understand that this contract was actually worth it.
The comments and the reporters basically suggested, look, he didn't do anything to provoke these guys. And, you look at someone like a Baker Mayfield, and, Baker used to get into it with people, and people offered their opinion about what a piece of garbage Baker Mayfield was. But they were more talking about Baker Mayfield as a human being, and as a person. And the fact that he sucked as a quarterback didn't help, but we were talking about what a joke of a human Baker Mayfield was. And that's why all the ridicule, because that guy played like crap and didn't even understand he was playing like crap. That's why people talked and said the things they said about Baker Mayfield. Daniel Jones, as you said, goes out there, he does his job, he doesn't talk, he doesn't he's one of the most humble guys in the league. And Giants fans that are hating on this guy, what's your end game? I don't understand that. I really don't. Zay, thank you for joining us. No, my bad. It's my fault. Zay wasn't late. It was all my fault, and I appreciate you being here. Let's talk Daniel Jones. This guy's getting it from everybody, Zay. What do you got?
Little bit of rightfully so, a little bit of a too much. For the most part, I can see where people agree that we need more from Daniel Jones. I think that also goes to his play calling. I was upset with the amount of usage we had for Hyatt last week. I think Hyatt is a game changer, and I think Daniel Jones needs to be more vocal in getting him the ball in somehow, some way, so that offense can become explosive. But outside of that, I think a lot of criticism is harsh. Like you guys have mentioned, I don't need to, double down on it. He's been let down by the front office. He's been let down by the offensive line. He's been let down by his staff around him in general. And obviously, like Sean said, after what he did last year, I don't know why people are still coming after his name. There are quarterbacks in the league who have done a lot less than him in more time, who doesn't get as much criticism. Hey, but
big Giants fan right here.
Oh yeah,
big Giants fan.
Hello.
All right.
Hey.
All right. But he just wanted to be on screen for a minute. He's a Giants fan now. He's all about this team and the suffering that comes with it, Zay.
Look, it's part of the. You gotta let him know it's part of the. It comes with the territory of being a Giants fan. The ebbs and flows of the seasons we go through. But again, like Sean said, I think things will start to even out as the year goes on. I think the Giants will improve in certain aspects. Please don't worry about me. I'm just trying to get my laptop together. But I do think they will. I think they'll round the corner. I think they'll get Saquon Barkley back at some point. I don't think he needs to come back this week. I think the Giants are more than capable with Daniel Jones. Like I mentioned last week or the week before, one of them. Daniel Jones has led this team without Saquon Barkley on the field. That Green Bay game is one that stands out to me, where Saquon actually got hurt, missed the drive, and he drove down the field in 7 plays and scored a touchdown against the great Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers. So I think everyone just needs to take a little chill pill on this criticism and hate for the guy. The guy, he hasn't been here that long under stable situation and standards to be hating on him. I just think people need to take a break, sit back, and like Sean said, be Giants fans. Just enjoy him. He's going to turn around.
Guys,
Eli was terrible.
Be Giants fans. Like, I don't know what people were expecting from this season. It seems some Giants fans somehow thought that adding Darren Waller and Paris Campbell, this team was going to go 17-0. And obviously, look, that's not in the cards here. This team is going to struggle against the elite teams. Sean and I talked earlier about those teams with great defensive fronts. The offensive line still a bit of a mess, especially with Andrew Thomas out. It's going to take some time to get this all figured out. The Giants, you're right. I think the Giants can beat Seattle. Oh, yeah. They certainly can. The defense, Sean, you pointed this out. The defense, Zay, I think has been very disappointing so far. These guys are very much capable, I think, of playing a lot better. Bobby Okereke has been useless.
No
I
show.
thought this guy was going to show up and make 170 tackles, and really, the Giants need a guy like that. It's been too long. The defensive front, the front four has been pathetic. There's been no pass rush. The rookie corners, which you said, by the way, we could bank on, they've held their own despite the fact that there's no pass rush. So it's putting those guys in the tough spot. They've played well. The safeties have played well, but the front seven's been terrible. The tackling last week was atrocious. Xavier McKinney made me angry, and I love Xavier McKinney. He played like garbage last week.
A lot of that is you got to look at the players. They got to point in this. They got to point the finger at themselves, look in the mirror. When they had the lockout, they went back and did the collective bargaining agreement. Two of the things they asked for was less tackling in practice and less practice overall. And as fans, we have seen, what that has become. The outcome of it, we've seen a lot of teams become very subpar over the years, where we've gotten to a point where it's really like 4 teams at the end of it. It comes down to, it seems like every year, it seems like the same 4 teams, whether it's the Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, or the Eagles right now. That's what it seems like. And the rest of these teams seem to be regressing. And I think that does go to the lack of practice time. You cut down on a preseason game. I tell people that you got to take a break. The Giants' first 3 weeks, to me, is like an extended preseason. They only had 1 drive throughout the preseason. I mentioned to you guys when they added the extra game, I said how teams handle the preseason from now on is going to be huge in how it affects the team, because without that extra game, the third game is normally the dress rehearsal. Starters are playing about 3 quarters, maybe even a little more, depending on how bad they look. Without that game, you've got a situation where the Giants played 1 series together. Hopefully that team that we've seen play that 1 series will be out there this Monday, because we should get most of the line back. So hopefully we should start to see glimmers of what that was and what it can be. But there's a lot of finger pointing that has to go to the players who ask for less practice time, and we see it. I wasn't happy with the safeties. Xavier McKinney missed how many balls in the air? How many balls were tipped up in the air that could have been caught for interceptions that we're just not playing? The techniques are terrible. I want to bash the front 7 bad, but if you look at the teams we have been playing, just look at the games. They have been releasing the ball super fast. The 49ers get the ball out in under 3 seconds. That's hard for any pass rush to get there. The Cowboys have a ridiculous offensive line, but they do get rid of the ball fast. So when you combine those two, again, that makes it difficult. But we do need to see more pass rush. We saw it in the second half of that Cardinals game, and we know that because the Cardinals are a less superior team. They don't get the ball out fast. They don't have a better offensive line, and we started to see what our defense can be. But the Giants just need to get up to speed. The starters haven't played that much. Everything needs to come. Look at Kayvon Thibodeau, who's been a bust. I told you guys I was not big on getting him. I rather had gotten Sauce Gardner. You guys, we need a pass rush. We need a pass rush. Well, guess what? We still need a pass rush. And if I'm being real, Kayvon just hasn't looked like it. Azeez can't stay on the field. And what are we bringing Isaiah Simmons for? I honestly thought we were going to bring Isaiah Simmons in to be our own Micah Parsons. Go out there, chase the quarterback. You have a 4.3 speed. Do that. No, instead we have him playing a traditional linebacker position, which we've seen it doesn't work in Arizona. Get this guy in a position where he can get after the quarterback. His first play of the Giants, he gets after the quarterback, forces an error play from Aaron Rodgers where he throws the ball out of bounds after almost falling. That's the Isaiah Simmons we need to see week in and week out with this lack of pass rush, and then we'll see the interior line start to become who they are. But that has to happen. And the lack of practices and all that, I'm starting to put into it. That is what the cause of these slow starts for these teams. Lions 0-6 last year. Got hot, started going to the playoffs. Slow starts because of the preseason, because of the lack of practicing. But maybe I'm just rambling. I don't know.
Interestingly enough, there are only 3 undefeated teams going into week 4 left in the NFL. Everyone else has at least an L on them. Dolphins, the Eagles, and the 49ers are the only undefeated teams. Here's another super interesting fact. The Miami Dolphins, and Sean, you said it earlier, this might be the greatest offense in NFL history. Scored 130 points already. They've got a point differential of plus 59.
Yeah, the problem is they're a 2 away from the end of the season.
Yeah. Buffalo, though, is at a plus 56. Not a little shocking, you think, all the points, but Miami's defense, they got some work to do. So I think as you look at the NFL as a whole right now, outside of the Niners and the Eagles, nobody in the NFC is great. There's nobody in the NFC that scares me, and the AFC. Again, I got questions on everybody. I think Kansas City might still be the class of the AFC. I think the Dolphins are nipping at their toes. And as Sean said, the Bills are back. By the way, for every jackass in the last couple months who suggested that the Jets or the Patriots were going to be competitive in that division, come on. That's hilarious. Yeah?
That's a low blow, Joe. That's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Man. Listen, I got to be honest with you. I feel bad for the Jets right now.
I don't.
I do.
No.
I do. That was a team. Look, they're in a weird spot where when you trade for Aaron Rodgers, you got to trade Justin Wilson or Zach, whatever the hell his name. They should have sent that kid packing somewhere, anywhere. That's not a good backup quarterback. He makes too much money to be cut. And then you don't really have the fundage to go out there and get a Teddy Bridgewater type, a guy who you really want to be your number two.
They're fine.
That's the spot that they put themselves into. That, by the way, if you're a Jets fan and you watch that game, I watched the Jets game this week against the Patriots. I don't know why I tortured myself watching that. I love Mac Jones. He's awful too. Mac Jones, I'm baffled. This was two of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. In the last 2.5 minutes of that game, the Patriots punted to the Jets like 3 different times. It's like, you guys couldn't even run the clock down at all. They just kept punting the ball back to the Jets. And God damn it, if Wilson isn't the worst guy who's ever been a quarterback under center in the NFL, I'll take names because I don't know who's worse. Did you guys watch the game where he took the sack in the end zone, or the first sack where nobody was was pressure? He just fell.
No one beats Dan Orlovsky running out the back of the end zone for the Lions. No one will ever.
Although Dan Orlovsky certainly, despite being one of the crappiest NFL quarterbacks ever to start in this league for any amount of time,
it's made a good career out of it.
Certainly does act like he knows what he's talking about and he knows what he's doing, and I think that's hilarious.
Make it till you make it. No, the Jets are in a perfect position. If I'm being honest, you start Zach Wilson every week. You start Zach Wilson every week, and you lose every goddamn game. It don't look like you're taking because you're starting a kid who's supposed to be your future. You go out there and you get you a top pick where you're top 10. You're in the top 10 now because you basically tanked. You ain't gonna win no games with the kid. I don't care what you do. You ain't going to win no games with a maybe 5. They put you in the top 10. You could trade up, get you in the top, whatever, maybe top 2, top 5. You can get you a Shedeur Sanders. You can get you a Caleb Williams. Get you one of those guys. Let them sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year. Come on, take off. Now you got a future. But no, stupid Jet fans, go ahead, waste money. Go get a Kirk Cousins. Go get somebody stupid and waste your – I kind of love Jet fans. You're stupid. You deserve to be miserable. You deserve it because you want to see your team go out and put a better quarterback and win games that you shouldn't be winning. I love you idiots. I do. I really do love Jet fans. You think about this. You could lose every game and set yourself up to have a future quarterback for the next 10 years. While you have a great quarterback that's going to teach him for at least a year, maybe 2 if Aaron Rodgers wants to give it an extra year because the first year went bad. But no. Bring in Kirk Cousins. I'm sure he'll love to be a backup next year for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, not for nothing, right? Let's think about Kirk Cousins for a minute. Really good regular season quarterback. Probably could turn things around. Maybe could even get your Jets to the playoffs or close to it, only to lose in the playoffs, which gives you what, the 19th, 20th pick in the draft? Yeah. Right? It's like, dude, if you're exactly right. I mean, Wilson sets you up to go literally 1-16 here, lock up Caleb Williams and move on, because
you could have.
Yeah, I think Jets fans are so upset because this was finally the year that, they have everything so good around them. They have, good playmakers. They have a great defense, and Aaron Rodgers is coming in. And this is the year that the Jets are finally here. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender. And then 4 plays in, it all comes to a crashing halt. So I think that's why Jets fans just want something right now, because they had such high expectations for this year that they can't watch Zach Wilson go out there every week and literally embarrass himself to the point where every NFL fan is clowning on this dude. I mean, he is an absolute joke. Every Jets fan wants him out of there, wants him banished somewhere that's not New Jersey, across the country. So I think that's why I get what you're saying, but I think Jets fans are just so impatient because they want a quick fix right now, even though I don't think it's going to help anything. It's just a disaster for them.
It's dumb. Take it from a Mets fan. Listen, the Jets will learn, like Steve Cohen, you cannot buy a championship in this day and age. It doesn't work like that. Build something. Take your time. Lose some games. You were in this position a couple years ago, and you won a meaningless game, and you lost out on Trevor Lawrence. You forgot about that? You're going to do this to yourself twice? You're going to do this to yourself twice?
That would be very Jets of them to do that. So I think
if I'm Rob Saleh, I'm sitting everybody in a meeting except for Zach, like, look, guys, we're starting him on purpose. You seen the Caleb Williams kid? Oh, yeah, you want him throwing you balls? Okay, all right. Everybody just play along. We love the locker room. We love Zach, and we're just going to run him out there every week. I would just fake it until the end of the year and then kick him on his ass at the end of the year. Because what are we doing here? What are we doing? What are the Jets doing?
That's a long season for those Jets players to sit through, though. I think that's a hard sell to sell to an NFL
many
team.
losing seasons already. What's another one?
For those Jets players that know that they can compete, if they just had a competent quarterback, I think it's tough for them to sit there and for them to do nothing except for sign Trevor Siemian off a practice squad and say, hey, here's Zach Wilson's competition. I think that's a tough sell to the locker room that they're just throwing in the towel for the year.
It's the smart move. It's like I told you with the Mets. We didn't want to see selling. We didn't want to see selling at the trade deadline. But it was the smart move for the franchise going forward. And that's what Jet fans have to realize. There's a difference between watching and winning meaningless games and putting yourself for a better future. You could lose these games. Yeah, who cares? You lose games all the time. You're the Jets. We don't expect you to win a championship. But then you can set yourself up where you're actually expected to win a championship, because I'm more comfortable next year with Caleb Williams and Shedeur Sanders as a backup quarterback than Zach Wilson. That's for damn sure. And I'm telling you now, he's on a rookie contract. He's a high pick. He ain't going nowhere next year neither.
Yeah.
You have to understand, as Jet fans, obviously we're not Jet fans. It's not our dilemma. We care like a pinch of salt. We'll be fine. But they have to understand they have to set up their future. It's just part of sports. You don't want to sell off your future like the Rams did. The Rams are lucky that Matthew Stafford's as good as he is, or they'd be very, very, very miserable right now.
Yeah.
Because they sold off their future for one championship, Jets. Is that what you want? One more championship and in 64 more years and none? Come on, people.
I think the Jets would take that, though.
I think they would, too.
Desperate. They are desperate.
That's what desperate fans do. I'm going to give you my 5-team parlay for this weekend, by the way. And I think these are easy locks here. You can pretty much cash your check now. You got Philly at home against Washington. Come on. Easy. You got Los Angeles at home for Las Vegas. Easy breezy. Dallas is entertaining the Patriots at home. San Francisco is home for Arizona, and the Kansas City Chiefs head to New York to play the Jets. Those are all five gimmies.
Those are all going to hit, except for your boy Justin Herbert is going to tear it apart for you. Just for all the slander that you've thrown his way, he's gonna throw a pick six with 2 seconds left, and the Raiders are gonna end up winning.
No, it'll be the Commanders beating the Eagles. That's what it'll be.
Or that they beat them last year.
Eagles have looked human. They have looked human this year. They have not looked like the team they were last year. And
a plus 25 in the point differential. They haven't won impressively.
they have even. I thought they were going to lose that game to the Patriots. And we talked about how bad Mac Jones is of a quarterback. They didn't look that. They looked like they was almost going to blow that game to the Buccaneers a couple of nights ago. I was really nervous for them at the end. Obviously, they got a turnover because Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield. He gets the ball back and gives it right back to them. But boy, the Eagles are the problem with the Eagles right now to me is they have to play almost perfect to win. That's what I'm seeing with the Eagles. They have to play almost a complete game to win. Because if they don't, there are cracks and holes where they can lose. They have not looked as dominant as they did last year. I don't know if maybe the offensive coordinator change, maybe that's the issue. Maybe defensive coordinator change. I don't know what it is. There's something. I can't put my finger on it. And that's why I'm not ready to give the Eagles the division just yet. I think there's something human about them this year that I didn't see last year.
I will tell you this. I did have Tua Tagovailoa as my starting quarterback in fantasy last week, and holy crap. Yeah. I don't know if him or Big Mike Williams, who put up like 40 points, catching passes from your boy Justin Herbert. He was a monster. And oh my God, dude.
Jesus boy.
Deebo Samuel. Who else I have? Amari Cooper. I mean, I had one of the greatest weeks in the history of fantasy, as far as I'm concerned. It was an unbelievable week. I cleared 200 points in 2 different leagues, and I pulled myself from the cusp of disaster to back into contention.
It's a long season.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is.
Must be nice. I'm ready.
You guys got a fantasy lock this week? Who's got to be in people's starting lineups?
Yeah, Sean, you want to go first? I mean,
no, I don't even have one prepared.
You don't even got one. Look, for me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown tonight. This guy's unstoppable. I honestly, he had an off week last week. He didn't have as good of a week he did, against the Chiefs. So I expect him to turn around tonight against a Green Bay Packers team that we know it's not what it used to be since Aaron Rodgers left. That's the reason why he's not there. That's not a knock on Jordan Love. He looks good for what you're asking him to do, replace an all-time legend. So they're going to have their hiccups, but I think they'll have too many hiccups and they'll give the Lions the ball way too many times, and Amon-Ra is going to have himself a night. Sean, no. I gave you enough time. Come on.
Yeah, I'm going to go with something that I don't feel great about, but I'm going to do it. I'll go with Justin Fields against the Broncos. Their defense has been god-awful. He's been off to a rough start. Maybe the 2 worst teams in the NFL, but I think that he's definitely upset with the offense right now. I think he's going to put up some numbers against this Broncos defense, who's been awful. I don't feel great about it. But
I see what he said. Zay, not for nothing. Something's got to give in that game. Something's got to give.
Maybe Russell Wilson becomes Russell Wilson again. I'll bet Russell Wilson becomes Russell Wilson again before Justin Fields has a good game. I would be willing to put that bet.
Russell Wilson hasn't been good for a long time now. Justin Fields at least showed some signs of promise last year, and that's why he had
2 rough years on the Broncos. Relax, people.
His last year with Seattle wasn't great either.
Again, let's not forget this man is a pass away, which should have been a run play, from having 2 Super Bowl championships. No one has that in this era but Pat Mahomes.
That's fine, but that was also a decade. That was also a decade ago.
Yeah, you can call it what you want. You can say
he's washed. That's what he is.
You can say whatever you want. Wash whatever you want. Justin Fields is washed.
I don't think Justin Fields is that great. I just think he has the ability with one run he can break a game open, and I think that he actually has somewhat of a weapon this year. I don't think Justin Fields is good. I really don't. I just think that the Broncos defense is god awful.
Keep your phone on. I'll be texting you. Keep your phone on.
Okay, that's great. Hey, I started with saying I don't feel great about it, but I got a feeling this will be his one good game of the year.
It's a good way to pat in the fall. Good way to soften the fall in your ass. I like that. I don't feel good about it.
You gotta, yeah.
Way.
You got to protect.
You're not going to like mine. My fantasy lock, Seattle Seahawks running back, Kenneth Walker III. I feel like
you did this last week with McCaffrey.
I did, and I'll tell you what, McCaffrey had a pretty good week, though. He kind of did. And I feel like, again, I haven't seen the Giants defensive front tell me that they can stop this. It's either that or DK Metcalf's going to have like 180 yards receiving on 6 or 7 catches. I'm assuming I think the Giants corners are playing much better than the defensive front. So I think they're going to pound this ball to Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to have a pretty big day, and it's going to be a long Monday night.
This guy's a Giants fan, right?
Yeah,
I love the Giants, but I also like to win fantasy.
Oh, man.
I like your strategy of just picking against.
It's what happens when you get paid. Dexter Lawrence got paid. When players get paid, they're not as good as they were. I don't know what it is.
It's weird.
It's weird. It happens. They get. You know what I think it is? Because you work so hard to get paid that you basically you popped your cherry and now you're on your way back down.
Listen, Polar Knights, you've made this joke before. Step up your game, dude. I think you could do better.
The perfect evolution of beard.
What's the evolution, though?
Made the same joke. Yeah, plus they're all basically full beards. Come on. You work on the jokes, buddy.
Wait. Who doesn't have a full one? Now you're saying basically who doesn't?
That's what I'm saying.
What? Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I'm gonna need a power ranking from Polar Knights.
Yeah. Come on, Polar Knights. If you're gonna bring it, okay? You know what I'm saying? You gotta bring it.
Weak stuff in here.
That's all. It's all we're asking for. All right. Well, so what do you guys think? You guys think the Giants win the game Monday night?
I do. I think they're still on track. I said it before, there were games on the schedule I thought that they could win and they could lose. Right off the bat, we were unsure if the Dallas game could go either way. We all basically put the 49ers game down as a loss, even though I think Brock Purdy is a front runner, and I will continue to run with that. He's a front runner. He's not that good. That's what happens when you are an average quarterback that gets drafted on a good team, unlike the good quarterbacks who get drafted on crappy teams because they get high picks. But that's just another topic for another day. But again, I thought they were going to beat Arizona. They beat Arizona, and I marked off Seattle as a win. I think it should be a win. Didn't we lose to Seattle last year, correct? So It should be another get-right game for the Giants, and I think we're still on schedule. I still think of the same record I had at the beginning. I don't. What was it? It was like 13. What was it? 13-4, something like that. It's something crazy.
You still think that's a number they can get to?
Maybe 11. I'm thinking maybe 11-12 range. I still think that's possible. Sean, I don't think we've seen the Giants. I don't think we've seen the Giants. I think the Giants that we see in the second half of the Cardinals game and that one drive we see in preseason, I think that's the Giants, and they just got to put it together. I literally do.
That's what you're basing it off of, one half in a preseason drive after we've seen
games. Look,
I'll take it.
It's a lot more than we've seen in a lot of years. It's a lot more than we've seen, bro. And again, look at their first 3 games. We expected 2 out of at least 1 win, maybe 2, because of what we saw. So our eyes haven't lied to us yet.
I agree with that, but the fashion in which we got beat in week 1 and week 3 hasn't been promising.
Week 1, torrential downpour, everything that can go wrong.
I mean, you can't put it all on that it was raining though.
No, I'm not. I'm saying torrential downpour, everything that could go wrong that went wrong. Went wrong in the first half. It basically took the fight out of the team in the second half. There was no fight. I don't care.
It was a disaster. It was a disaster right out of the gate, and they never got their footing.
That will never happen again. All right, I'm be rude. That won't happen the second time they play. Granted, because it'll be in the dome, but it will never happen that way again. It takes a lot of things for things to go wrong like that. Even when you saw it in the Cardinals game, it started off that way, and then they were like, hold on. Let's reel this back in. We're better than that. Because just as easy as the Cardinals beat the Cowboys last week, they could have handed the Giants in the second half of that game. They were up way more points on the Giants than they were in the Cowboys.
Sure. I'm glad you brought that up because you and I certainly gave it to our buddy Sander, the Cowboys fan who was talking all that smack. And
that was hilarious.
I mean, look, Not for nothing. You could say what you want about the Cardinals are tanking, and that's why the Giants came back in the second half. Well, then Dallas has a lot of explaining to do because you couldn't come back against a team that's tanking. I don't know. Giants have been outscored 63-6 in the first half, and we know since the Daboll era began, this team does not score in the first half. They do all their damage in the second half. That's something that's got to change, and it's got to change quick because this is not a good football team coming from behind.
No, at least they haven't shown that yet, except for if they lost
once. I can't say it's not that bad.
You guys remember this dude?
Yeah, the guy who left us. Well, anyway,
we love you, Jace Garcia. We love you.
This narrative about the Cardinals being a mediocre team, like, yeah,
they play hard.
They're 0-3, but they're 1-2, excuse me, but they can easily be 3-0 right now. Easily 3-0 with a quarterback who came in a couple of weeks before the season, first game, a couple of days before the first game, he's playing. He don't even have a jersey until last week in the market. He put that out there. So don't give me this half team. These are all NFL players. They're all still playing for their jobs. They all still playing because even if the team is tanking, the team is looking like who we're going to keep for next year and who we're not. These guys are still going out there and earning a check. They got families to feed. So don't give me that nonsense about a mediocre team. They're in the NFL because they're at that level. They could have finished that game off. They didn't.
I think this is the best test, though, to see if we're a mediocre team or not, though, this upcoming week, because we're not in the Niners or Cowboys class. We're not. The Cardinals was great that we came back and won that game, but and even though the Cardinals beat the Cowboys last week, I still think they're a bottom half team in this league. I think that's fair to say.
Granted.
So this is the first team that's, I think, close enough to our level where we can actually compare ourselves to, where I think we'll have a better idea going forward what we're going to look like after this upcoming game on Monday night.
06, I'll bring back to you. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks. I think Joe brought it up too. Giants started off 0-2. Then in the second half, they were getting their ass handed to them by the Redskins. And there was a four-play stop at the goal line. Turned their whole entire season around. All it takes sometimes is just a little confidence, and you can reel off 6 in a row. Then you can lose 2, reel off another 3 in a row. This is the reason the NFL is so great is because every game matters, and there's only 17 of them. We're sitting here on week 3, assuming what the team is going to be in week 18. You can't do that.
Especially this team.
When I tell you the Lions started off 0-6 and barely missed the playoffs. We are in the era of teams going 0-3 and it's completely over. No, you have extra games now. You got extra playoff spots now. We can't sit here 3 weeks in and break apart the whole team, who to trade, who to keep. Let's start the offseason now. There's so much still to go.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm just saying from what we've seen on the field, I don't think we can say that, we're an 11-12 win team right now. That's from what I've seen on the field. I think we look more like a 7-8 win team than an 11-12 win team that's, competing for the playoffs. That's why I said this week is important to see where we are down the line.
I think you're both right. I agree, Sean, that this is a team that I think you're in that similar mid-echelon, or so we think. And if the Giants get it handed to them by Seattle, then you know that they're terrible.
Yeah.
If the Giants can play with these guys or beat these guys, then you're like, oh, all right. So we're here. We're not at Cowboy Niner level, but we're somewhere in here, and that would be fine. I do think this team can still turn things around. I think that's Giants football. Again, this is a second half football team. We know the first 8 games of this year's schedule, a brutal schedule. Things do lighten up a little bit in the second half. They're a better second half team anyway. I mean, schedule wise, not necessarily the second half, which so far that's kind of how it's shaken out.
Just the holds true.
All right. Before we end the show, obviously we've got to address this. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. How adorable! You guys loving that or what?
Can we not? I've blocked Taylor Swift on any Twitter memes, mentions, and anything. I don't want to see it or hear about it.
I think this is why Zay was excited to hop on today.
Oh, yes. The highlight of my day is
moment.
about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift will be together for maybe a month or two more.
Over under a month and a half.
They're both wishy-washy people. I don't.
Did you see the numbers though? Young women watching that football game, it was like a 30% spike.
Yeah, when she's doing
Swifties are
halftime,
nuts.
when Taylor Swift is doing Super Bowl halftime shows, and we have to sit through that crap, it'll be because they saw the viewership of her just going to a game. Imagine if she's actually performing.
Let me ask you this: let's say the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl this year.
No,
Do you think they'll be long enough that she would still be with him and she'll be at the game even though she's not performing? You think they're done by January?
She'll probably be at the game to.
What's the Shannon Sharp? Nope. Not a chance. Not a damn.
I love this. Have you guys seen the videos though where the women say to their husbands are like, "Wow, this is great that Taylor Swift's helping to put this Travis Kelce guy on the map," and then the husbands melt down like, gentlemen, if that's you, people are laughing at you. You're showing an insecurity. And you don't have to. You don't need to defend Travis Kelce. He's fine. And sometimes women are more successful than men, and they might even date. And it's nothing for a grown man to be a pissy bitch about. So, guys, I've seen a lot of these videos on the TikTok, and you look like a little bitch melting down about this. Okay? Taylor Swift makes more money per night, $13 million, than Travis Kelce makes per season, $12 million. Okay? He's famous in his own right. He's hosted SNL. He's got a really super popular podcast. He plays for the friggin' Chiefs. He has more endorsements than she does. She's not a big endorser. She doesn't really like to do that. But she's still raking in as much money per night as he does in a season. I know it's a little untraditional. And for some reason, right-wing media is losing their mind about this. And to that, I say, grow the fuck up. Okay? Like Zay said, this isn't going to last long. Let the kids enjoy it.
All about the kids here, John, about the Gmen.
Too much money. The relationship can never work. There's too much money involved.
Yeah. By the way, have you seen his previous girlfriends? They're all like super hot black supermodels.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the mustache change too, right? You noticed that, right?
Yeah.
He went from "come on, bro" to "get on your knees, boy." Real fast. That's pretty bad of you, Travis. I messed with "come on, bro," Travis. Not put your hands behind your back, Travis. I'm not a fan of this one.
Oh my God. This is my fault for even bringing this up. That's my fault, Sean. I deserve that. And Zay, you were right to say all those horrible things you just said. I opened the door, and that's what I get.
This all off, throw off the evolution of beards, and just get this mustache going. Who's it? Polar Knights will be upset because one of us won't have a beard anymore. I don't even think I could do that type of mustache if I'm being honest. I don't think I have the genetics for it.
Yeah,
I'll shave to a mustache for next week's show.
Yeah, I got too much testosterone to do that myself, I think. Yeah. ClovercrestMedia.com/Joing About the G-Men. Make sure you follow us on the YouTubes. We're on Facebook. We're on the Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe and do all that other crap. We'd all really appreciate it. Zay, thank you for showing up. Always appreciate that.
Oh, I love being an extra on the show. There's nothing more I love than being a guest and hearing you two guys expert input and just joining in. I just thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm flattered.
I love you. You're the man. I thought Zay said he wasn't going to be around this week, and I didn't send him an invite. And the show started, and I got a very pissy. I'm just sitting here at home.
Look.
And so no, that was my bad, and I do apologize. And Zay, you're my boy, and I love you, dude, and I love when you're on the show. You really make this show, especially when you say something absurd and everybody looks at you crazy. And then a month later, I'm always like, God, he was fucking right again.
It happens. It
He
happens.
is known to do
Zay
that.
says a lot of things that in the moment you're like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And then fast forward a month and you're like, oh my God.
Well, that's why
What was
ESPN
that?
didn't hire me. But that's why I ran into that issue. And this is why I'm at CBS, because ESPN, they heard, this guy, he doesn't say what we want him to say. He doesn't say the most obvious dumb thing that you can say on TV. He can't work for ESPN. He can't have the most obvious opinion out there that people had already known for 4 months, but now we got to make it seem like because we know about it, everybody else knows about it. But that's ESPN, so it's cool. I enjoy being the oddball who makes those weird random takes that no one agrees with at first, and it works out.
That's why we love you, Zay.
Thanks. I
We see
appreciate
into the future.
I'm crying.
He's great. Anyway, for King Zay, the man Isaiah Grows, for Sean Scanlon, I'm Joe McGuire. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next week for John about the Gmen.